Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen fired me wrongfully, so I ended her company. After that, move your car. Okay. And after that, am I the jerk for not going to my mom's birthday after her husband got rid of my cat? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen gets her company ended. Joke's on you, Reddit boy. I don't even have one. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen fired me wrongfully, so I ended her company. Hey everyone, I decided to share my story. It all took place 17 years ago, but I feel like it belongs here. At that time, I was 20 years old and dated my first true love. We'd been together for 1.5 years already, and everything was great. Her mother really liked me, and she had her own company which traded fashion clothes for kids. She made a ton of money. They needed someone to drive one of their 3 5-ton trucks, and she came up to me with the idea to hire me because I was unhappy with the job that I had. So as a win-win situation, I accepted her offer and we started working together. Job was okay, even though I had to work a huge amount of overtime because she thoroughly introduced me to how the whole company worked. She had a huge storage facility, a store, and 2 trucks, one that I drove and a big one. I worked for her for like 1 year, and in that time, I knew every single thing about the company because she trusted me with also the dirty secrets. This later came in handy. This is where things took a huge turn. I found out that my girlfriend cheated on me with her ex, and as a result, I broke up with her instantly. It was an ugly situation, and after it went down, I called her mother and told her what was going on, and that I don't want to mix things with business, so I will still be there for work, even though I don't want to see her daughter again. She said everything is alright, but of course she sided with her daughter, and I felt that she's mad at me because of the breakup. I went to work and acted as a professional should, took all the drama aside. However, soon after, she singled me out and started looking for mistakes so she could discipline me. This had been going on for months, and I realized she was just waiting for an excuse to fire me, but I wasn't gonna give her that reason easily. She was upset that she couldn't find big mistakes, and the small ones she often just made up were not enough to terminate me. So she came up with a plan. On the truck, we had a power generator, which provided a light and a power for laptop, a printer, and so on. It worked in 2 ways, with fuel when we were on the road, and with a cable in case we were at the storage. But it was not made by a company. They just hired an electrician for that, and he made an error, so we had to flip a switch all the time if we used it with a cable connection, otherwise it would burn out. As I loaded the truck, she convinced a coworker to flip the switch back, and after a few minutes, the lights were gone and I noticed something was wrong. It burned out, of course, but I knew I didn't forget the switch because I had loaded the truck for an hour and it only took 5 minutes tops to burn out, so it couldn't have been me. She didn't even hear me out. She just started yelling and fired me on the spot and stated that she was going to pay the repairs out of my last salary, so don't expect any money from her. I didn't take that lightly, and I told her, I don't think you want to go this way with me, but she refused to listen. It took a few days for me to cool down, but I wanted to give her a last chance. I called her and told her even though I knew what was going on and that she did set me up, if I get my money, I will call it an end and we don't have to see each other again. She told me to buzz off, so I came up with a plan. First, because I knew that the store she had didn't have a bathroom, which was illegal in my country, the shop assistants had an agreement with a restaurant on the opposite side to go there if they needed. I reported this to the authorities, and the next day they closed the shop because of this violation and told her that she can't open up until they have a bathroom. She called me right away and asked me if I had anything to do with this. I laughed and told her, "Didn't I tell you that you don't want to go this way with me?" And I hung up. I knew that we worked so much overtime that me and the other driver had so much overtime on the cards. It records how many hours you drive and how fast, and when you stopped. So I called the authorities again and told them everything. They went and checked all the records and gave the company a brutal fine. She sent me text messages all day long after that. I replied, "Ain't done yet." Then silence. Few hours went by and my phone rang. She called and asked me if we can talk it over. She even said she'd send my last paycheck, but I shut her down immediately and told her, too late for that. Then I called the fire department and told them the wires that they had in the walls of the storage were outdated, which caused short circuits daily, and that they only had 2 fire extinguishers for the whole place when they should have had like 12 to 15. On that very day, they had to close the storage as well, so she lost the last place where she could make money for months until they got everything up to date and renewed all of the wires, which cost a huge amount of money. Because of the fines she got from the different authorities, she couldn't afford these renovations, of course. Few months later, she filed for bankruptcy. I know, because my ex-girlfriend called me with, "I hope you're happy, jerk. You made my family bankrupt." I never got my paycheck, but at that point, I didn't even care anymore. I was happy with the outcome. I hope you enjoyed my story. Have you ever gotten sweet revenge on a boss who did you wrong? If so, how did you do it? Please let us know. I got revenge on my co-host. Just wait till you find out what I put in your coffee this morning. Move your car. Okay. I'm the 19 female, daughter of my normally very nice parents. We had new neighbors move in about 2 years ago, and for the most part, we've just let them be. They're a little annoying sometimes, and there were a couple instances where we had to complain about the overwhelming noise of their weekend parties at night. But other than that, they're pretty okay neighbors. We've never had a problem with them until recently after several strikes against my family. Strike 1. Destructive dogs. So our neighbor's family and our family own dogs. My dogs are very gentle and spend most of their time indoors. We live in Southern California, and when this incident happened, it was in the middle of summer, so we let our dogs stay inside to keep cool. Their dogs are very aggressive and are raised as outside dogs. Every time I let my dogs out in the backyard for some fresh air, my neighbor's dogs will attempt to break through the wooden fence dividing our properties via digging, climbing, scratching, etc. The digging was easy to stop. We just filled in the holes with dirt. But at some point, their dog managed to create a hole in the wall large enough for their dog to squeeze their face in, so about the size of a dinner plate. We have cameras, so we caught everything on tape. My parents are pretty understanding, so my dad went and talked to my neighbors, offering to pay half of the damage since it's our shared property line. The neighbor's wife, who we're going to call Lying Sally for this story, called my dad a liar and accused our dogs of damaging the fence, which we knew wasn't true, and my dad told her we had proof it was her dogs and demanded that my family pay for the damages. They fought over it and nothing got solved, so eventually my dad conceded and nailed some plywood over the gaping hole. Problem solved. But this was only the first strike. Strike 2. Just why? The next incident is honestly really stupid, and I don't even know why Lying Sally bothered lying. So this incident happened about a few days after we had to call our third noise complaint on one of their parties again. Like seriously, who blasts Let It Go at 10:30 p.m. at night? I wish I was making this up. My mom is getting out of her car in our driveway when Lying Sally walks right up to her and accuses her of yelling at their lawn mowing guy to not mow their lawn so loudly at 7:30 a.m. My mom was very confused. She's never talked to the guy who comes over to mow their lawn. We've never cared about any of our neighborhood's business in general. We have a neighbor across the street who revs his motorcycle at 6 a.m. and another neighbor who does construction stuff in his garage for a hobby. My family has been living here for almost 20 years. We're very chill with our neighbors' noise and noisy hobbies normally. Long story short, my mom confronted the lawnmower guy one morning and asked him if she's ever talked to him before, and he told her no. Lying Sally saw this and ran out of the house to confront my mom. She screams, "Why are you talking to him?" And so my mom replies, "Because you're a lying jerk." And so that's the gist of it. I don't know why Lying Sally even bothered lying about that. At this point, we were convinced Lying Sally was a nutcase. Strike 3, the point where I finally stepped in. For the past month, my neighbors have stooped to a new low by hogging all of the parking space in front of our house whenever they get the opportunity. My family has 3 cars. 2 usually sit in our driveway, and the third is parked curbside in front of our house. My neighbors have 2 cars, both of which they park alongside the curb in front of both of our houses. The curb our houses share is only big enough for 2 cars. They've stopped using their driveway entirely just to park their 2 cars on the curb, which forces us to park our third car further down the street. It's not a big deal, but what they were doing was petty, so my parents became petty too. The moment they would move their cars to go to work, my parents would move our third car back into its spot on our half of the curb. This went on for almost an entire year, until at some point an unspoken truce was made and they stopped their petty scheme. Things returned back to normal until I accidentally messed it up. In my defense, I was driving home with a third car late at night. It's dark. I accidentally back up way too far and park the car smack dab in the middle of the curb. So my car is literally in the middle between our houses. I'm tired from working all day, so I don't think much of it since our neighbor still has a whole entire driveway to themselves. Trust me, their driveway is just like ours. It's made to fit 2 cars. The next morning, I wake up to the sound of my parents arguing downstairs. Turns out, our neighbors have parked one of their cars in their driveway, and the other is parked in front of our 3rd car on the side of the curb. This wouldn't be a problem if half of the hood of their car wasn't sticking out into our driveway. The problem with this is that if we tried to back out the car, the one closest to their car, in our driveway, we might hit their car, and I'm pretty sure that was on purpose. I was done with their games, so I marched over next door and rang their doorbell. The husband, we'll call him Pig for this story, opens the door and he's recording me as if I'm going to attack him, which is ridiculous. I'm 5'2" and he's close to 6 foot. If anything, I should be the scared one. The conversation goes like this. Me: is it okay if you can move your car? Jerk: no, the police told me I can park anywhere I want because it's a public road, and they even told me I can record you. Me: I don't even care about you recording me. I just need you to move your car. You have an entire driveway to yourself. It's just common courtesy to not block your neighbor's car in their driveway. Jerk: you guys can still get out. It's not that bad. Me: yeah, but we just don't want to hit your car by accident while backing out. Is that a threat? No. I'm just saying that we don't want to pay for the damages of your car because you didn't want to move it, and I can't guarantee that we won't hit it. It's pretty darn close. I don't care. I shouldn't have to move my car. You move your car. I realized I wasn't going to get anywhere, so I let him slam the door in my face, and I walked away. I went back inside my house and got on my laptop to make sure that, yes, it is indeed illegal to park in front of someone's driveway, even partially. So my neighbor does have to move by law. However, I wanted to be a petty jerk, so I moved my car. I grabbed my car keys and carefully backed up the car, again, the one closest to his poorly parked car, so that the back half is inches away from the front of Jerk's car. So my car is now blocking Pig's car from pulling out into the street and leaving. My car is also blocking the sidewalk, which I know is illegal, but I already had this planned out. Basically, I caged in his car and held it hostage for a couple of days. Either Jerk or Lying Sally would have to come and apologize to make me move the car, which I knew was very unlikely. Or, Part 4, Victory. Sure enough, as I predicted, Jerk called the cops a few days later and reported me. His face was so smug as the officer told him that I can't legally box in someone's car like that and block the sideway with my vehicle. I told the officer that I understood and that I'll move my car, but I immediately pointed out that it's illegal to partially block the entrance point to someone's driveway as well, and that Jerk's car is crossing that line by over 2 feet. The smile on Jerk's face vanishes and his face turns red while the officer tells him that he's going to have to move his car as well. So I back up my car and I'm grinning like a cat who's caught its prey, while Jerk has to move his car into his driveway. I also made sure to move our 3rd car back into its rightful spot as well. Have you ever had a neighbor who you just couldn't stand? If so, what was wrong with them? Please let us know. Now that's what I call a game of cars. Vroom, 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 vroom. Am I the jerk for not going to my mom's birthday after her husband got rid of my cat? My mom remarried when I, 29 male, was 14. My sister and brother were 12 and 9. From the beginning, none of us liked Ben and didn't consider him our stepdad. It was obvious he didn't like us either. He literally divided our fridge between stuff that was ours and what was his. Separate milk, cereal, eggs, soda, etc. Everything he paid for, we weren't allowed to touch, even if it was the same brand. It was weird, but whatever. Our mom bought us food and what we needed. Ben was super controlling too. Always told us our friends weren't allowed in his house. He's the one who moved in with us, even if my mom said it was okay. We weren't allowed to sit on his couches, so we always sat on the living room floor. Expected us to be silent in the house 24/7, never let us go outside, etc. I was a stubborn little jerk, so I butted heads with him the most, while my mom played mediator between us. Even now that we're all older, we still dislike him, only tolerate Ben for our mom when we visit. My brother in particular hates him, and sometimes they have screaming matches. Last month, when we met up at their house, crap got out of hand with their argument, and my brother revealed he knows Ben was the one who got rid of my cat when he went missing. This caught me off guard, but I got on Ben's case and told him to tell me the truth. And it was true after all. My brother saw Ben with a cat in his car driving off once. Ben confessed he was tired of all the hair and my cat roaming around everywhere, so he took my cat to a shelter an hour away. I almost lost it right then and there, and my mom tried to calm me down. She had known about it too back then, but never told me because my cat had already been gone for months. but according to her, she made sure Ben knew how horrible that was. Then I took off and told them I'm not speaking to them anymore, and she shouldn't expect me at her birthday, which was a few days ago. My heart was pounding, and I cried a little in my car. It felt like I lost my cat all over again. I had spent months looking for him, and all that time he was at a shelter. Who knows if he was even adopted, because he was an older cat. My brother's the only one who apologized for never telling me and for bringing it up like that. Everyone else is telling me to let it go already, because Ben made that mistake years ago. They said my mom was extremely hurt that I didn't show up to her birthday, so this was very immature of me to be angry over something done a long time ago. I spoke to her, and she apologized for what happened back then, but it didn't make it right for me to shut them out on an important day. So she also feels I was in the wrong for refusing to go when every birthday I've been there, and it means a lot to have all of her kids there celebrating. I'm caught in the middle, still feeling emotionally raw over this whole thing, and not really sure if I was the jerk for not going. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Ben? Please let us know.
Mom's the biggest jerk of them all. Why would you be with someone like that and have them around your family? I'm seldom at a loss for words, but bruh.
All she had to do was nothing. Context. Names and some details changed for privacy. I'm on mobile, etc. Players. We've got me. We've got the manager, Lady Catherine, who's in her 60s. We've got managing partner, Bennett, male in his 50s. We've got my partner, Gardner, male 47. We've got partner I'm babysitting, Bingley, male 44. We've got my friend/coworker, Charlotte, who's in her 30s. I'm a professional attorney wrangler for a big legal firm. If you've watched Suits, I'm Donna if she was wound tighter than a child's music box. As a legal admin, I have to keep a tremendous amount of information straight. Every county and every U.S. state has their own court system, their own rules, and their own idiosyncrasies. I have 5 attorneys on my team. Despite the TV shows, it's pretty unusual for a lawyer to have a special secretary all their own, unless they are very important, so 5 is a solid number. Because of the lockdown that took over the world last year, a secretary that left in January of 2020 has not been replaced yet, and I've been babysitting one of the partners, Bingley, in the meantime. It's been a fun learning opportunity as Bingley works for an entirely different region and type of law than the rest of my team. Also, he has a case where a truck exploded, was empty, which is awesome. Story. My manager, Lady Catherine, is the worst. You know the type. She plays favorites. Her best loved word is no. She must be involved in everyone's conversation because she is just that important and necessary. We don't get along because I'm a stubborn know-it-all who's been proven right a few too many times. Highlights include forbidding me from using the same resources other admins had access to, on her orders, including backup admins when my workload was too big, and then denying my overtime requests. I literally had no way to do my job some days. It's worth noting that the reason Bingley's secretary left was specifically because of Lady Catherine. In fact, 4 additional admins quit over the year explicitly because of her. Anyway, at this point, I'd been working with Bingley for almost a year. It was November 2020, and we had settled into a pretty good routine. I'd gotten used to filing pleadings in a different state and no longer needed to double-check all my work for nuance. Because law still operates in the Stone Ages, a few U.S. states still require hard copy filing. Anything we want the judge to read has to be sent by actual mail, on actual paper, to arrive in the judge's actual hands. It's a pain. Most states let you file electronically, but whatever. Bingley mostly only has cases in one of the hard copy states. Lady Catherine, in her excessive wisdom, butted in uninvited and instructed me to include a cover letter when mailing a new filing. This confused me, as I had been filing for almost a year and no one, including the admin who originally trained me, had mentioned a cover letter. I told her this, and she basically told me to suck it up. I called the court admin to make sure I wasn't crazy and that I hadn't ruined a year's worth of filings, and the court admin literally laughed and said to please not include a cover letter, so I didn't. Imagine my surprise when Lady Catherine called me, writing me up for insubordination. Even knowing the court rules and the judge and the court admin explicitly said to not send a darn letter. She was right because she is always right, and I am, and I quote, a disrespectful little jerk, and she was tired of me. A warning went into my employee file, pending disciplinary measures. The next day, she emailed my team, telling them to reduce my score on my yearly review, as she knew I had been rated too highly for what my abilities really are. It felt to me like she was preparing to fire me by creating a history of poor performance. Well, if you're so tired of me, Madam Manager, I can leave. Within a week of looking, I found a new position. Now here's the issue. I love my team. This is the best work team I've ever been on. We take each other seriously, and we genuinely love each other. A lot of times, admins get pushed around because we don't have fancy degrees, but not here. Calling in to quit, I cried. I cried a lot. I cried to the point that one of my partners, Bennett, asked if I wanted a counteroffer. I said no, because that wouldn't solve anything. He asked what I meant. I told him. I told him about the write-up. I told him how she was trying to falsify my employee review after it had been submitted. I told him the reason 5 admins had left. I told him about how I wasn't allowed to ask for help. At this point, I had given myself hiccups from weeping, and one of the partners on my team, Gardner, was calling him, asking if he and his workload were the reasons I was leaving. So Bennett let me go do other things, like day drink and create a shrine out of legal forms. I thought it was the end of it until a friend in another office, Charlotte, called me asking what I was doing. She doesn't have time to train someone into being the new me, and I was the only admin she actually trusts in my office, so why was I leaving her all alone? I told her, and she told Gardner, and together they plotted. First, Charlotte is the manager in her office, so she is on equal footing with Lady Catherine. They also report to the same person. Charlotte called the district manager and told him that Lady Catherine was driving admins away, and that the most recent quitter, me, was the only person who knows how to do a lot of the work on my teams, and my loss was a serious blow. Apparently this is true, which is both heartwarming and terrifying. Meanwhile, Gardner called up a fellow partner and told her that his world would collapse in on itself if I left. He would go to the nearest bridge and jump off of it, which was pretty impressive in a landlocked state. They had to do something. I got a call the next day from Bennett saying they had a counteroffer they were really hoping I'd take. Basically, instead of Lady Catherine, I would report directly to Gardner. Lady Catherine would be forbidden from interfering with me without first asking Gardner for his permission. This solved the issue, and I got to stay with my team, so I happily accepted. I thought the debacle was over. The debacle was not over. Unbeknownst to me, after looking at the evidence, exit interviews, emails, memos, Bennett put Lady Catherine on a performance improvement plan, and she did not get an end-of-year bonus or raise. Turns out I had been absolutely correct. Lady Catherine's behavior and treatment had been the explicit cause that 6 secretaries quit in less than a year. I got a call last week from Charlotte. I figured she wanted to gossip about coworkers or rant about how a shared client is a big ol' headache, but it was actually to give me a heads up. Lady Catherine had been stripped of her management duties. I no longer had any contact with her, which was great, but it also meant I didn't see that her behavior had actually doubled down on the admins unfortunate enough to still be under her thumb. She had missed every single one on the benchmarks of her performance improvement plan. Charlotte had called me to ask my opinion on who should be the new manager, as I know everyone and she was helping cover some things as an outside manager. Now, I know some of you are thinking, yes, become the manager and fire Lady Catherine, but I am not a sadist. I want to stay on my team and do what I do best, which is being a cheerfully annoying, respectful little jerk. I told her one of the more senior admins would probably need some guidance, but would be amazing at it. No one has to deal with Lady Catherine anymore. She's now a mere paralegal and not anyone's manager at all. If she had just left me alone and not interfered where she wasn't needed, none of this would have had to have happened. All she had to do was nothing. A driver hits my truck and refused to get insurance involved. Enjoy the jerk tax. This happened just a week ago. I'm an over-the-road truck driver, and I was in off-duty mode since the day before, so I was stationary the whole time. While I was in my bed trying to sleep, I suddenly heard a loud crunch, followed by a pretty rough rocking of my truck. When I got out to check, I saw a truck trying to park in the left spot and struck me on his blind side, right side of my trailer. The damage was, my driver's side mirror was folded and there are cracks in my left quarter fender. The driver got out, checked the damage for both my truck and his trailer. I told him that I will need his registration, driver's license, and insurance, the whole 9 yards. At first, he was a little hesitant to give the information, but ended up following the rules. I did the same for him. Then he proceeded to tell me that he would prefer to pay the damage in cash or check. The reason was, if insurance was involved, his company would charge him $2,500 automatically, so it's a huge loss for him. Even though I don't agree with that and still think insurance is better, I comply and talk to my manager about the whole situation. At first, he wanted to claim through insurance too, but after seeing the damage, it was very minor. He settled and told me to charge the driver $1,200 if he wants to pay cash or check. I told the driver what my manager thinks the cost of the repair is. He was more hesitant than when I asked for his information, so I told him it's either $1,200 or insurance. Then he got this bright idea to try to get evaluations from the professional in the nearby shop for the cost of parts and labor. He even tried to fix my side mirror, which to my surprise was fixed. Okay, so no need to replace the side mirror, but the fender is still cracked, so that needed to be fixed. His reason to get professional evaluation is so that he can get a receipt for tax purposes, so it's understandable. I told him that I will need to leave in 4 hours, which is true, so I won't have all day to sit around in the mechanic shop. Not to mention, I didn't get much sleep since I need to take care of the damage. He was very assuring that it will be very quick. It won't. Shortest time I've ever been in a shop is 8 hours, so I comply. We drove to the nearest shop, which is 30 minutes away. Inside the truck, he kept saying that $1,200 is too much to fix a fender. I didn't say anything in retaliation because I actually do not know how much it costs to fix a fender. I just trusted my manager. When we arrived, the tech said that he can't fix the truck within 3 hours. It was fairly busy. So we asked if we can just get an evaluation for the cost of labor and parts, which the tech said that he can do. After 1 hour, the tech came out and gave us a piece of paper for the evaluation. The total came out to be $1,440 for parts and labor, not including the paint job, which is around $400. He was shocked, thinking that he got ripped off by the evaluation. He complained a whole bunch to the tech, but there's nothing the tech could do about it. He asked for their evaluation. He got it. Then he went back to me and asked if it can still go back to the $1,200 cost. I told him, but I thought you wanted to get a receipt for evaluation done by a professional. To say he was stunned was an understatement. He kept making up excuses about the cost, but again, I repeated either this or insurance. He finally complied and wrote me a check for $1,440. After we parted ways, I mentioned to him, remember to keep your words for the paint job. If not, my manager will claim the damages as a hit and run. He looked at me with the dirtiest look he could muster, but he couldn't do anything about it. Oh well, at least he got his receipt. Edit 1. For those who mentioned that I might get burned with cash or check, I actually didn't think of this at first, but that was a very good lesson. Nonetheless, the driver paid me with money order because he couldn't withdraw $1,440 in cash from an ATM and he doesn't bring his checkbook. I guess it's more secure since there's no way money order could bounce. Also, I have all of his information and proof of accident from the parking lot camera. In case he tried to pull anything funny, we can just dial insurance and reveal everything. Don't mess with Sandra. This tale was told to me as a warning when I started on my first post-college job. I am relating it exactly as it was told to me. This occurred in the early 80s, so those of you who've grown up with the internet may not understand how we did things in the olden days. There were no smartphone apps to show Q codes for airline tickets. They were paper, with red carbon mess. Reservations were done by phone. It was primitive by today's standards. Players. Names have been changed, of course. We've got Sandra, super sweet secretary loved by all. True, I worked with her. She was amazing. We've got Fred, Sandra's boss. Tom, local VP. Big Shot, incoming senior manager from back east. And Al, lead engineer on the team. This occurred in Salt Lake City, which if you don't know, family was a huge part of culture. Even at work, family matters took precedence, and local management knew this and allowed for it. Well, Big Shot's office minions noticed some slight irregularities in time cards, like days off without pre-approved vacation requests. So he got himself transferred to the Salt Lake City office to straighten things out. Naturally, he was quickly hated. One morning, Sandra got a call from her daughter that she was unexpectedly in town and wanted to have lunch. Naturally, Fred and Tom said okay, but the Big Shot stuck his nose in. Rather than just saying no, he dropped a travel request on Sandra's desk, and it had to be done because he expected to fly out that afternoon. Sandra was heartbroken that she wouldn't get to see her daughter, but she had her work responsibilities. Stopping by to drop off some paperwork, Al noticed that Sandra looked a little down, a huge change from her normal chipper mood. He naturally asked her why, and Sandra explained. Al told her, he had no authority by the way, to go have lunch and we'll take care of it. Big Shot got his travel packets, got on the plane that afternoon, and flew off to his meeting. That's when things started to go wrong. The rental car reservation was invalid, and there were no cars available at any of the agencies. All had a hold on them pending confirmation from some big clients. So Big Shot ended up getting a rent-a-wreck. For those too young or not in the US, there really was a discount auto rental agency by that name. Quality was not job number one. When Big Shot got to the hotel, he found that his reservation was no good. He had to wait around until after the tentative reservations expired, which was after 6 p.m. Getting suspicious, Big Shot looked at his tickets and found that they were one way. He had no flight home. The next morning, Tom flew in to join him and to say Big Shot was incensed was probably an understatement. He gave Big Shot a packet that was marked extremely urgent that had been left on his desk with a note to take it to Big Shot. It was Big Shot's return ticket. On the way back, Big Shot stopped by the corporate office and got a very senior executive to come with him because of some very serious personnel problems. The next morning, Big Shot led the senior executive and Tom into a meeting with all of Fred's department and began publicly berating Sandra for incompetence and so on. When he got to the part about the tickets, Fred interrupted and told the senior executive that Sandra couldn't have done that. She was on approved time off having lunch with her daughter. This raised the senior executive's eyebrows and got Big Shot even angrier. The senior executive said if Sandra didn't mess up the tickets, who did? Fred stepped forward, then Al, and one by one, every single member of Fred's team stepped forward to take responsibility to protect Sandra from Big Shot's wrath. Tom and the senior executive knew instantly what had happened. Everyone on Fred's team had burned up the phones making tentative reservations for rental cars and hotel rooms, leaving Big Shot stuck with worthless reservations and no alternates. Within the hour, Big Shot's desk was empty and his badges had been turned in. The senior executive stuck around to get to know the team. He was very impressed with how the whole team stuck together and protected their own. After he finished the tale, the engineer said bluntly, "Don't mess with Sandra. We love her and we will make you pay if you upset her." Message received loud and clear. As I worked with Fred's team, I got to understand why everyone loves Sandra. She was an absolute gem in the organization. Efficient, super friendly, just an all-around wonderful person. Please do us a huge favor and come watch this video next. You're gonna love it.
Would you like us to give you a special shout out in our next video? Join as a channel member today and we will. And why not have us make a video reading your script for you? Just head over to our Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.